U.S. President Donald Trump has refused to answer a question about calling Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky a dictator, and denied he ever made a relevant statement in the past. Answering a reporter's question in the White House on Thursday, on whether he called Zelensky a dictator, Trump said, "Did I say that? I can't believe I said that." Next question, Trump said while addressing reporters alongside British Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer in the White House. Last week, Trump called Zelensky a dictator during his speech at Saudi-backed investment meeting in Florida. Trump posted similar thoughts in his Truth social media platform as well. "A dictator without elections, Zelensky better move fast or he is not going to have a country left," Trump posted. Later he falsely claimed that Zelensky had only a 4% of approval rating. He refuses to have elections, is very low in Ukrainian polls, and the only thing he was good at was playing Biden like a fiddle, Trump said. It should be noted that Zelensky has been democratically elected by the Ukrainian people. Trump's U-turn over calling Zelensky a dictator comes as the two men will meet in the White House this week to sign a minerals deal that will enable Washington regain hundreds of billions of dollars it spent on military aid to Kiev through a joint fund to be founded.
Do you still think that Mr. Zelensky is a dictator?
Did I say that? I can't believe I said that. Next question.
President, you talked about having common ground with Keir Starmer, but there are things you disagree on as well. You described Zelensky as a dictator. He describes President Putin as a dictator. Do you see that as a problem?
The relationship between President Zelensky and President Putin is not a good one. You've noticed, right? It's not a good one. It's not a good relationship. And we're going to have to try and work something out. Sometimes that happens. I get along with both. I have a very good relationship with President Putin. I think I have a very good relationship with President Zelensky. And now we're doing the deal, and we're going to be in there. We're going to be actually in there and digging our hearts out. And hopefully, we need the rare earth, and we have some here, but we don't have enough. Our economy is very strong, and we need a lot of things that, in some cases, we don't have here. So I think we're going to have a very good relationship, but the relationship between them is not the best.
President Donald Trump said Thursday that talks to end Russia's invasion of Ukraine are very well advanced, and he expressed confidence that Russian leader Vladimir Putin won't press to restart the war if a truce can be reached. According to Associated Press, Trump made the comments at the start of a White House meeting with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, where the Starmer was expected to make his case to the Republican president that American leadership would be critical to maintain the peace in Ukraine should the three-year war end. "I think he'll keep his word," Trump said of Putin. "I've spoken to him, I've known him for a long time now, we had to go through the Russian hoax together." The mention of Russia hoax is a reference to the FBI and Justice Department Special Counsel investigation that examined whether Trump's 2016 presidential campaign illegally coordinated with Russia to sway the outcome of the U.S. election. Special Counsel Robert Mueller found that although the Trump campaign welcomed Russia's help in the form of the release of hacked emails stolen from Democrats, there was insufficient evidence to prove that the campaign had colluded with Moscow. Starmer's trip, coming a few days after French President Emmanuel Macron's own visit to Trump, reflects the mounting concern felt by much of Europe that Trump's aggressive push to find an end to the war signals his willingness to concede too much to Putin. Trump's rapprochement with Russia has unsettled America's historic allies in Europe. They have found themselves on their heels with Trump returning to the White House with a determination to dramatically make over U.S. foreign policy to correspond with his America First worldview. The Trump administration held talks last week with Russia without Ukrainian or other European allies represented. And this week, the U.S. refused to sign on to resolutions at the United Nations blaming Russia for the war, which began 3 years ago when Moscow invaded. The drifting White House view of Ukraine under Trump is leading to a tectonic shift in transatlantic relations. His administration is pushing back on the notion that Trump is ignoring Europe or is too eager in his push for settlement talks with Putin. "He hasn't conceded anything to anyone," Vice President J.D. Vance said. "He's doing the job of a diplomat. At a White House meeting Friday, Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky are expected to sign off on a contentious agreement that would give the U.S. access to Ukraine's critical minerals, which are used in the aerospace, defense, and nuclear industries. Zelensky had chafed at a deal without specific security guarantees from Washington. Trump was non-committal about any coming American security guarantees, and underscored that Russia would think twice about attacking Ukraine should the U.S. build an economic footprint in Ukraine to extract critical minerals.
Yeah, please, ma'am, go ahead.
Mr. President, what would you be willing to do if Vladimir Putin did not,
If he
did not stick to the terms of any deal on Ukraine? Because he has a history of not sticking to his word when it comes to international agreements.
I think he'll keep his word. I think I've spoken to him. I've known him for a long time now. You know, I've known him. We had to go through the Russian hoax together. That was not a good thing. It's not fair. That was a rigged deal and had nothing to do with Russia. It was a rigged deal with inside the country, and they had to put up with that too. They put up with a lot. It wasn't just us. They had to put up with it, with a phony story that was made up. I've known him for a long time now, and I think he will. I don't believe he's going to violate his word. I don't think he'll be back when we make a deal. I think the deal's going to hold. Now, they're going to have security. You're going to have security. Yep. You're going to have soldiers. I know France wants to be there. The president has said he wants to have soldiers there. I don't think we're going to even be necessary, but I don't think there'll be any problem with keeping the deal with the security. But I have to say this, as I said yesterday, you know, you're talking about a peacekeeping force. We have to make a deal first. Right now, we don't have a deal. We have Russia. We have Ukraine. I think we're very well advanced. I think Russia has been acting very well. We have Representatives Steve Witkoff and Scott and Marco and JD. We're all involved, every one of us, and a lot more. But I think we're very well advanced on a deal, but we have not made a deal yet. So I don't like to talk about peacekeeping until we have a deal. I like to get things done. I don't want to give it the bad luck sign. We don't want to do that. But
it sounds as though one of you completely trusts President Putin and one of you doesn't trust him an inch. Have I got that right? And why do you trust him?
Look, you know, it's trust and verify. Let's call it that. And I think we both can be that way. You have to verify because you never know what's going to happen. I know a lot of people that you would say no chance that they would ever deceive you, and they're the worst people in the world. I know others that you would guarantee they would deceive you. And you know what? They're 100% honorable, so you never know what you're getting. No, I have confidence that if we make a deal, it's going to hold.
Mr. President, is there anything you can say tomorrow to President Zelensky to reassure him that his country's war hasn't been in vain and its sovereignty is not going to be threatened by any deal with Russia?
Well, you know, he's coming. Perhaps he's already on his way. And we're going to be signing the deal together, probably in front of the media. And we're going to be having a good conversation. No, we want to work with him, President Zelensky, she said before. We want to work with him, and we will work with him. I think the president and I actually have had a very good relationship. It maybe got a little bit testy because we wanted to have a little bit of what the European nations had. You know, they get their money back by giving money. We don't get the money back. Biden made a deal. He put in $350 billion. And I thought it was a very unfair situation.
We're not getting all of ours. I mean, quite a bit of ours was gifted. It was given. There were some loans, but mainly it was gifted, actually.
Mr. President, the Europeans want Ukraine to be part of NATO as part of this deal. Are you willing to budge on that at all, or is it a firm?
Well, I could be very nice and say, oh, well, we'll work to it. Look, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. That's what started this whole thing. Biden said that, and all of a sudden the guns started. That was one of the primary reasons this started. And this was long before President Putin. They never said it was an impossibility. So we can say, oh, gee, well, we'll try. But that's something that's just not going to happen. And then the other question you ask is about the land. Will you get your land back? Well, they've fought long and hard on the land, and you and I will be discussing that. And we're going to certainly try and get as much as we can back. But on the NATO, it's just not, that's not going to happen. Yeah, please.